Yeah, so hi, I'm Hass. Gary obviously is he's my father-in-law. I grew up as a Muslim, and I was quite a dedicated Muslim. I went to like an Arabic school every Saturday, where I learned Arabic and studied the Quran and the religion, and was fairly devout. In fact, my friends, all my close friends, their mums used to call up my mum and say, get your son to talk to them, make them better Muslims, and kick them into action and that kind of thing. So I was a bit of a golden child in that respect. And I had these assumptions about Christianity and what it means and who Jesus was and stuff based on Islam. So I don't know if you know, but a Muslim, when they pray, they say, God doesn't have a son like every day, 5 times a day. So that was kind of beaten into me in that way. And my mum gave me this kind of view that we're in England. England's a Christian country, so everyone I see is a Christian. So Christianity for me was represented by everyone I saw in the country, which didn't fill me with delight because I said there's no difference, between someone who says they're a Christian and someone who says they're not. They're the same. So it didn't really stand out for me. And I also thought that Christians believed that Mary was God as well. And I know obviously Catholics do, but I didn't understand that not all Christians do. And then one day when I was 17, I was at sixth form, and then I met like a real Christian, and they were very different. They just stood out. So I started having conversations with them. I tried to convert them to Islam, which obviously backfired. But we had these long, deep conversations, and there were kind of three main areas that I think God used to convict me that Christianity was true. And the first one was around what I would call like the hinge of faith. So in Islam, it all hinges on the fact that Muhammad was in a cave and he received the Quran from an angel. No one was there to witness that. It was just him in a cave. Christianity hinges on Jesus, this real figure who wasn't just recorded in the Bible, but other sources talk about him living, his disciples, his death on the cross. So it was like grounded in this historic event that really happened. And me kind of being a scientist wanting to understand the evidence, I think that really spoke to me. The second thing was around kind of this personal knowledge or relationship that Christians say that they can have with God, and with Jesus. And I didn't get that at all. We spoke, and they said, I'm a friend of Jesus. I'm a daughter or son of God. And when I was a Muslim and I'd pray. Prayer is like a two-way communication. I felt very alone, very distant. But what Christians believe is that obviously Jesus was born. He was fully man. He was and fully God at the same time. But he was born. He was God with us on this earth. And so there's like this real personal connection to him. And then one verse that kind of really spoke out to me while I was kind of pondering on this. Was Matthew 7:21. Not everyone who says to me, Lord, Lord, will enter the kingdom of heaven, but the one who does the will of my Father who is in heaven. On that day many will say to me, Lord, Lord, did we not prophesy in your name, and cast out demons in your name, and do many mighty works in your name? And then will I declare to them, I never knew you, depart from me, you workers of lawlessness. So for me, that was like, what? You can know, the Lord can know you and you can know him? Like, that's just mind-blowing. And, like, if God exists, if God created absolutely everything, and you can be in that kind of relationship with God where you can kind of pray to him and speak to him and know kind of what he thinks about things in his word. I thought that was amazing. And then the third thing was around kind of how you get to heaven, right? In Islam, it's called a works-based religion. So you do things to earn your way into heaven. So on Judgment Day, God has a scale. If your good deeds outweigh your bad deeds, you go to heaven. Awesome. If your bad deeds outweigh your good deeds, you go to hell. There's also a case where even if your good deeds outweigh your bad deeds, God can say, hey, no, mate, you go to hell for a bit, then we'll have a chat, and then maybe you go to heaven. So there's no assurance. And there was no certainty of where you would go. And the more I thought about it, the more I realized, like, actually, I'm a sinner. I'm sinning all the time. And the Bible, talks about, we're commanded to love the Lord our God with all our heart, soul, and mind. Right? So we're all sinning right now because no one here is doing that. Yeah? So I felt that. I was like, wow, I'm never going to have the amount of good deeds needed to tip the scale. And even if I do, there's no certainty. And this friend said to me, it's not do, it's done in Christianity. We just thought about Good Friday where Jesus is on the cross and he says, it is finished. That's it. The work is done. That judgment that I would face if the scale tips is dealt to Jesus instead of me. And I receive whatever's left on the other side, that good, that righteousness represented by his perfect life that he lived here gets credited to my account. Wow, that was mind-blowing. So, knowing that I could live life, I could deal with anything in life. Life is uncertain, right? Anything happens. You lose a job, lose money. COVID. But to have a certainty in this kind of life was just, I wanted that, and to have certainty in who God is, in assurance that I'm going to be with Him forever. He'll be with me. I'll have this personal relationship with Him now, but forevermore, I'll never be separate from Him, and He'll be with me. So those three things together were really used to convict me and show me that actually what I believed felt just so far removed from what is true, and that maybe Jesus is right. So this friend invited me to their church. It was like a home church, and I just remember praying one night, and I was so confused. Right, Islam it's not just a religion; it's very much a culture. All my friends were Muslim. All my family was Muslim. So I was really worried. Like, if I did become a Christian, what would be the fallout? I didn't know how my parents would react. I didn't know how my friends would react, what they would think of me, and how they would feel. I felt like it was a sacrifice. And I was questioning, like, is it worth it? Is it worth it? Anyway, I prayed and I was like, Jesus, Allah, Obi-Wan Kenobi, I don't know, like, whoever you are, let me know, that you're real, you're here, and let me know the truth. I want to know, I want to understand. Once someone told me the gospel, I had to make a decision. It was either true or false, and that was that point where I was just praying for that answer. And then the next day I went to this church, and I remember asking my mum, or just telling my mum, I'm just popping out on a Sunday morning, and normally she's like, who are you going with? How long are you going to be? Are you going to be here for lunch? All these questions. She was just like, yeah, bye. It's like, okay, all right. So I just snuck out, and then went to church and heard the gospel again, and I was just like, yeah, this is true. And at that point, that's what Christians believe, where God unveils your eyes and unplugs your ears, and you can hear this sweet truth for your soul. And I just accepted, Jesus is my savior. I recognize that He died for my sins, and I put my trust in Him. And then, God is sovereign. That means He's in control of everything. And in His sovereign plan, I'd just become a Christian, and I was going off to uni somewhere away from home, in Leicester, where I could go to church, go to Christian Union. I literally went, I didn't study in my first year, I just went to all these Christian things to try and learn more about God. And yeah, it was just fantastic to have that freedom to grow as a Christian. And just like, it was really, it just reminded me of the importance actually of like someone coming alongside, someone young in the faith. I had some guy who just went for a coffee with me every week and just walked me through the scriptures, through like these tiny little booklets, and like teaching me and showing me, what God says in His Word. And then I told my parents. So individually, I told my dad first. He's the kinder one. So I got him in a car and spoke to him, and he just said, you've got your faith and I've got mine. So that was a real answer to prayer. There wasn't any backlash. He accepted that I'm my own man. I've got my own faith. So that was good. But he asked me. He said, just don't tell your mum. It will break her heart. And so for a while I didn't, and I prayed and I waited. And then the time came, and then I told my mum, that I'm a Christian, and yeah, it broke her heart. She didn't speak to me for a year, but she did come around, and now like we've got a really good relationship, and it's still like they don't tell the community that I'm a Christian, so they try to keep that a secret, and I think that because it brings shame to them. For them to say, "Oh, my son's left the faith," kind of thing. But I've told my friends and stuff, and turns out they weren't great Muslims anyway. They realise that they're sinners and they can't be good enough, so they've just given up. So me sharing that with them wasn't a big deal for them, and that was good as well. Like to still have those relationships, and here we are. Like everything's good with my family. I'm teaching my daughter, how to sing all these Christian hymns so she can be an evangelist for me. I'm still scared of my mum, so I'll send her in to do that for me. But yeah. So thank you for listening, and yeah, appreciate it.